Okay, please bring your hands to the center of your chest and inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. And continue breathing long and deep. And as you do this, begin to open the possibility of going very deep within yourself in the next couple of hours. We're going to do some deep work. So please begin by imagining that you are opening up this space in which healing is going to occur, where you're going to access secrets and things that you have in your mind, that you have carried through a lot of years, many perhaps even lifetimes. And today is going to be your opportunity to change that. So it is really opening up a sacred space for yourself. Inhale deeply. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Adgure Name, Jugadgure Name, Satgure Name, Sri Gurudev Name. Adgure Name, Jugadgure Name, Satgure Name, Sri Gurudev Name. Adgure Name, Jugadgure Name, Satgure Name, Sri Gurudev Name. Satnam. So continuing a little bit with what we were discussing yesterday about this idea that I'm trying to sell everywhere is about having sensitivity as a man. Today I really want to briefly cover some key aspects about this idea of sensitivity in men. You know, just to convince your brain that it's needed. You know, I know that for most of us men, there's things that are challenging. And one of the things that is challenging normally is dealing with our own emotions and our own sensitivity. But as we talked yesterday, it is more than necessary that we need to do this. And today I'm going to give you more reasons why this is needed. And then we're also going to explore what is preventing this from happening and what we can do about that. The number one block that we have as men to do this, once described as the acid bath. He described it basically that what happens in a male fetus is that when there's a particular moment where there's this acid bath in which big parts of the right hemisphere of the brain get obliterated. So this right part of the right hemisphere of the brain is part of the brain that is related more to the female side. It is related to how we, you know, for capacities like art and for sensitivity and for, you know, higher forms of sensitivity that we normally as men, you know, don't have as much access as women. Now in science, you know, this has been in fact identified in this hormone that is secreted and changes the whole chemistry of a brain that belongs to a boy and a brain that belongs to a woman. So he would, you know, he would say, you know, he would tell women, men are dumb because only half of their brain works. You know, only the left side of the brain works. And then Lord Alderman said, well, wait a minute, what about women? See, well, women, both of their hemispheres work, and that's why they're always confused. So we both have a basic polarity in that it's needed, because we become whole when we are in contact with that feminine part of the world and the universe and our women. And as such, we also have to be in touch with the feminine part of our own selves. Now, the good news, the excellent news, is that even if we had that acid bath that he referred to, there's a lot that we can do to build that part up. Today we know that the brain is plastic, which means that it has plasticity, so it can morph and it can change even more. Even it can have a different morphology. It can change in the form. It can change in the way it connects to one section of the brain to another. And I want to talk about this a little bit because this is really critical and fundamental to understanding sensitivity. Sensitivity does have a correlation, not only because you're just sensitive and your pranic body and your radiant body is giving you all this information. You actually need the neurons in your brain to process this information. You actually need the connections between one part of the brain and the other part of the brain to make sense of things. So, if we have a disconnect between the left and the right hemisphere, there is the possibility that we can recreate that connection and we can strengthen that connection. And when we do that, we can become whole. And we know now this from science today, that we have, in the stem of the brain, we have a little structure called the nucleus basalis, which is really kind of interconnected with everything in the brain with little, nobody knows exactly how. But it produces this chemical called acetylcholine, which, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah. And this, when this chemical is present in the brain, what it happens is that it stimulates neurons that are working and in relationship with one another. So as this happens, your brain starts to get modified based on how you are thinking and how you are focusing and where are you putting your attention. This gives us an incredible capacity to modify the way that we're thinking just by the way that we are connecting the different parts of the brain. And there's, this is a ever-growing amount of information that is coming from neurobiology of what every structure of the brain does. What scientists don't really know yet is how to impact that, how to modify these things. And what is so powerful of Kundalini Yoga is, as I've been studying these different relationships between the different parts of the brain and the mechanisms that we can do to stabilize or to build or to control the different functions of the brain and the consciousness through what the brain produces. You need imagery, you need imagination, you need focus, you need concentration, you need sound, you need music, you need thinking, you need all these things that we do in Kundalini Yoga. And as I'm personally putting a map together of how all these brain structures work, and then I literally listened to a lecture from Yogiji where he's saying, if you do this Kriya, and we're going to be working on dealing with the heart. And then he creates a specific visualization that he guides you through in imagery. And then you realize, wow, that's genius, He probably didn't know all these technical names of neurobiology of what happens if you connect this part of the brain with this other part of the brain. But as yogis, we did know that as soon as we start imagining and concentrating and directing our awareness and our concentration in different ways, we gain different perspectives and different powers. How many of you have read How to Know God, the Patanjali book? So Patanjali, if you go and start reading his aphorisms of yoga, you'll see, which was written, 1,500 years ago or more. You'll see that he says, if you concentrate in this way, you will gain this power. If you concentrate in this other way, you will gain this other power. And he goes through the gamut of powers of observation, powers of mathematics, powers of sensitivity and intuition. And he tells you exactly how to focus. Now, that is not just magical yogi formulas that happen out of the nowhere. That is practical knowledge of how by focusing, by concentrating, by stimulating our brain, we can actually recreate our brain, and by doing so, we develop new capacities, new functions that we can access. So today I want to focus on what we can do as men to overcome part of this natural tendency that we have to not have total access to the emotional self and to the sensitivity part of ourselves, because once we do that, then the door opens to us. We become whole. We become integrated. We become part of everything, not just this little small perspective I have about the world, but I'm a larger me that is not only rational and manly, but that I have also that access to the sensitivity, which is really where my wisdom is coming from. So yesterday we were talking about how the body and the mind are communicating a little bit. We talked that we have extensive neuron networks in the solar plexus and in the heart, and how those get connected to the brain. So if you have a little map of the brain, if you imagine this, and this is your spinal cord, this part that comes into the brain is called the stem of the brain. And this thumb represents what is called the limbic system. And this over here is the cortex. The limbic system is all these different structures that are in the middle of the brain. One of the most important ones is the amygdala. And the amygdala is really kind of the grand central station of emotions. Then we also have the hippocampus, which is it is really like the master memory creator amongst other things. So it's related to how we manage memory, especially short-term memory. We have other structures like the thalamus, which is really what controls, amongst many other things, all the senses that are coming from our ears and our eyes. And also it controls the way that we sleep and the way that we rest. And all these structures in the limbic system are intimately connected to all our glandular system in such a way that stress really is an imbalance in the limbic system. If you can manage to impact the limbic system, you can reduce your stress hormones, you can reduce your anxiety level, you can just totally relax. And it also, the limbic system has an incredible force and power over the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system, which is the sympathetic part of your nervous system is that which gives you energy to act. And the part that lets you rest and relax is the parasympathetic system. And we need to have those in balance. Now, the incredible thing is that the way that things get communicated between the body and the higher part of the brain is it's coming from the bottom up. So we have all those neurons in your stomach and in your different parts of your body and in your heart center, and they get communicated and they come right into the stem of your brain. The stem of your brain is the most ancient part of the brain, and it is so ancient that it's related to survival. You cannot survive without the stem of your brain. Your stem of the brain is in charge of your automatic breathing, of your heartbeat, of controlling the most basic of functions. It is also the seat of the negative mind. Because the negative mind is that mind that lets us survive. After the stem of the brain, we go into the limbic system, which is the emotion, the memory, the beginning of creation of this higher self of me. Beyond, I need to survive today, I need to eat, I need to reproduce, I need to go to the bathroom. That is what what the limbic, the stem of the brain is telling me. The limbic system is telling me, let's create a wonderful meal, and delicious and decorated, make it beautiful. And it starts bringing meaning through emotion to the need that you have as a human. And the limbic system really is the seat of the positive mind. The positive mind is that part of our mind that gets emotion, evokes motion. Emotion is motivation. So it's evoking our motion to move into something, to do something. So that is a positive mind. And then the neutral mind is represented by the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain that has to do with the cortex and the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And as you see, they're intimately touching in here. The prefrontal cortex, which is the higher part of the brain, is touching the limbic system. Now what this means is that the prefrontal cortex represents the neutral mind. It also represents the applied mind, like the Yogi Bhajan used to say. It also represents the meditative mind. All these higher frequencies and higher states of mind come from this capacity to develop ourselves into the prefrontal cortex. How would we call this as yogis? It's in the third eye. Your intuition and your higher perception and your higher thinking is really coming from this area of your mind. And for yogis, maybe it's not exactly, but it's pretty much there. It is the third eye, which represents that part of your brain. If you see in Yogi Bhajan's lectures, he has so many meditations and kriyas to develop the prefrontal cortex. Because it's very important to develop this part of your brain to be able to manage everything else. Now these three structures also have to do with chakras, but that's a whole different topic. But what I'm trying to get to here is that as the whole system that we have as human beings, as sensory human beings, as he would say, is that we really need to have a connection in between all the different parts of our being. So if we're having sensations that are coming from our solar plexus, we need to be able to read those sensations over here, because this is where we're going to interpret them and where we're going to observe them, in the prefrontal cortex. But guess what? If I had a trauma, like most of us have had in life, we all have traumas because either somebody didn't take care of us when we were kids, or because somebody humiliated us at some point and shamed us, because we did something terrible and we feel bad about it, because we felt that, we'll go a little bit into that later. As we create these traumas and blockages, these commotions as we spoke today, they start getting lodged in the stem of the brain. They start getting lodged in that memory, that short-term memory that gets coded in the hippocampus. They start, lingering in the limbic system. And then what starts to happen is that you start having mental blocks. So you see, remember that sometimes we think that in the blood, you start getting clots and then there's no blood coming into the heart. What is that called? A heart attack, right? Well, we can have a mental attack all the time because our whole system is not communicating with itself. And when my stomach my solar plexus, when my back, when my heart is sending signals, and those signals are being just basically hijacked and blocked in my stem or in my limbic system, I will never even get to read them over here. But those things, remember that the stem of the brain and the limbic system are powerful drivers for human behavior. And for you as men, they're very powerful. When you get horny, that is something that's happening in the limbic system and in the stem of the brain. It is not something that necessarily starts in the higher frequencies of your brain. So we really need to have, a free passage of feeling of sensitivity between our body and our own self. So the first step that we need to be intuitive, the first step that we need to be conscious, sensitive men, is to have contact with our own system. For that, we have to clear up all this garbage. And that is a capacity that is more than necessary. Now, you're going to say, well, how do you do that? Well, the first thing you do is you need to start working, like we talked yesterday. That's the first step. What are the things that are blocking me from being able to have this access? And bringing them to my mind. I cannot run away from them, because if I just dig them up in the floor and I don't want to see them. I mean, if I had a pound of plutonium here, right? And I dig it in the path over there, nobody can see it, right? But every time that anybody goes through that, they're going to get a dose of radiation. Correct? It's exactly the same thing. We constantly, our mind is putting all these little drops of plutonium, toxic, they're highly toxic, so that any sensation, any feeling that is coming up gets radiated, gets contaminated, becomes radioactive. And then our behavior becomes radioactive. And when you're radioactive, everything you touch, you destroy. That's the nature of radioactivity, right? So we need to clear this up. We need to befriend. We have to stop having a fight with the plutonium and say, okay, we need to get it out, right? What do I need? I need a special container. I need some lead. I need a lead box. I have to get a pick and an axle. I have to run there, dig it up, put it in a lead box, and then take it to the proper waste dump. That involves a strategy. It doesn't involve just forgetting about it. You can't just forget about it. You have to go in there, see it, dig it up, throw it where it belongs. Secondly, once you start clearing all those little traces of radiation within your own stem and limbic system, you need to start to give attention and focus to that feeling that is coming through, that manages to come through your body. And that is the first step to be able to be intuitive. You have to be able to feel yourself. You have to be able to feel your stomach, your heart. Because, you know why? Because our soul talks to us through our heart. Not through our mind, through our heart. It is beyond rational. It is beyond anything. It comes through our emotion. It comes through the feeling of wholeness that is represented by the energy of the heart. So, as this is starting to filter, and you start consciously paying attention to it, to the pain and to the capacity to connect to it, what you're actually doing is that you're also strengthening the links, the connections, the neurotransmissions that are happening in between the neurons all along from your third eye to the stem of your brain. And as you do this, as you develop this, your brain is going to start to change. As it starts to change, you develop more and more connections coming down. And as you have that, then you can process this information that is coming from the most basic part of yourself. You can start to process that because the way that you process it is through the neutral mind, through the prefrontal cortex. So let's find, for example, a thought that is bugging me, and I feel it in my gut. You know, I just came into a room and I met a person that I immediately reacted. I said, I don't like it, right? And this information comes into the stem of my brain, and my stem has all this pollution going on there. And immediately it identifies that person with somebody that betrayed me 20 years ago and says, you can't trust this guy. So basically, I'm walking away. I'm evading the person. I don't want to have anything to do with him, you know. Goodbye. And you take your leave and don't establish communication with that person. That's the end of the story. But it's your opportunity lost. Because as long as we're just operating from these subconscious reactions and unconscious reactions that are represented in controlling the stem and the limbic system, there's no consciousness. We're not bringing light to the process. The right thing would be, you know, I might have an association with someone that betrayed me 20 years ago, but if I'm living and I give priority to my meditative mind, I can stay with that and say, okay, wait, let's feel this. So it comes up, it evokes a feeling of betrayal, and you don't like it. But by this time, you have developed the connection between your neutral mind and your negative and positive mind. So you have an advantage. You have a tool. And that tool tells you, okay, I understand that I just met this person. I understand that such and such betrayed me 20 years ago. And the neutral mind says, is it fair? Is it okay to judge this person as being a betrayer just because he looks like the person that betrayed me 20 years ago? So in the neutrality of the neutral mind, you don't have an emotional reaction. In the neutrality, you listen to the emotion. You listen to what the emotion is telling you. And then you act out of consciousness. And you say, you know, maybe, maybe not. But as a human being, I have to be in relation to others. I cannot run away from stuff. So I will go and talk to that person and say, hi, buddy. You know, I'm Gurudev. And here my stomach is going, this guy's going to betray me. But my neutral mind is saying, relax. Ask him a few questions. See if he's the same guy as before. See if he acts the same way. And then as I create this connection with that person, then there is the possibility that I can connect from the heart. And then, after I can connect from the heart, then I can establish a link of empathy, of connection, of compassion. So that brings me to the second point. The first point, again, is we need to be able to feel ourselves, to be able to be whole. There's all this wisdom, all this insight, all this intuition that is coming to us every day that we need to learn to read, to feel as men. Number two is that is like the number one step where you can start to develop this intuition. It begins with your own self. Secondly, we need to start developing our intuition in relation to another person. And the way that we do that is exactly by that little path that I gave you. Because it also turns out, in our own mind, we have neurons that are totally dedicated, full-time, to read the mind of other people, to see try to think what another person is thinking. So in the first stage, the first stage of meditation would be to be able to see your own mind, feel your own mind, understand your own mind. The second stage of meditation intuition would be to see and to feel somebody else's mind and situation. And that is also something that beyond our soul and beyond all the radiant body and the aura and all this other sensory information that can come through, all that information, we are able to process it in this form because we have neurons that are able to process it in this form. If we can feel the radiant body, if we can see the aura, and we can do it, is because we have neurons that have the capacity to have that. Mind creates patterns. And as it creates patterns, it always responds in the same way to that pattern. So if my pattern is to punch anybody that looks like the person that betrayed me, you know, I'm going to see you, I've never seen you before, but I'm going to associate you, and my behavior is just I'm going to punch that guy. Or I'm going to find any excuse to punch you. So our mind creates patterns, and then we don't think about these patterns. These patterns rule us. Yogi Bhajan said, you know, these are all the patterns that rule our life, and we become zombies because we're just reacting to patterns. We're not acting as men. Now remember that as men, we really want to be in control. We really want to feel that we have the capacity to impact, to penetrate. And as long as we're being reactive, can we do that? No. We can penetrate somebody else's face with my fist, right? But I can't really impact anything like that. So then that second stage is this ability to be able to read the other person. And by doing that, you're strengthening and you're building these connections in your own neuron system. And the third stage is when once you are reading your own self and you're able to read the mind of others, then you can start reading the mind of totality. And that's another stage. Where suddenly, this is where intuition becomes a lot of fun. Because all this wisdom that you are receiving out of nowhere, it is really coming from everywhere. Yogi Bhajan never read books. He would say that. He would just sit and talk and explain. You say, where did he come up with all this stuff? You know, there's no way that he could have remembered all this. Or, you know, I have my programs, and I try to bring my iPad not to forget things, but he would just sit there and pour all this stuff out. Where did he bring it from? He brought it from this capacity to first listen to himself, then listen to others, and then listen to the all, listen to God. We have a neurobiology that supports this. And we have the tools to develop this. So are you ready to practice some of this? Yes. Okay. All right. So, first meditation we're going to do. It's a real beautiful meditation to balance the mind and the heart. And this is a very critical part of the process. We tend to, many times, especially as men, we tend to be really a lot in our mind and very little in our heart. We don't want to be either in the heart or in the mind. We want to be in both. And this is something that even psychology has trouble figuring out. One day when I was in the university, I had a psychology professor. He was very well known. And, you know, he kind of didn't like me because I was wearing a turban. So he was always picking on me, but I would never react. So one day he comes to me and says, you know, I have to admire you because I've been picking on you for the whole semester, and you don't react. I said, and he says, this has provoked something in me. I want to ask you something. And he said, what? I said, what? I can't stop reacting. I can't find happiness. I'm a PhD in psychology. I'm 45 years old, and those days I was 20. I thought, well, he's old. And he says, why can't I be happy? And then I just repeated to him something Yogi Bhajan said. I said, because you happiness, because you are always trying to solve a problem with the mind with the mind. But I'll tell you a little secret. When you have a problem of the mind, solve it with the heart. When you have a problem with the heart, solve it with the mind. And everything will balance out and you'll be happy. Well, I think he gave me an A for the course just for that. Yeah. He was so happy. He later, the last day of school, he told everybody that he didn't mention me by name. But he said he had learned something incredible that he hadn't learned in all his years of psychology. So let's experience this instead of talking about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our thumbs under our armpits, and we're going to close our eyes. I know our eyes are 1/10 open. And I'm going to put this mantra, this very beautiful mantra. You're going to recognize the voice. And as we are doing that, the mantra is Om So Hum. During Om, I want to ask you to whistle inhaling. So it's going to sound like this. And then when the song goes into So Hum, you're going to go through the nose slowly. That's all there is to it. Eyes 1/10 open, inhaling, whistling through the length of the mantra, and exhale through the length of the mantra through the nose. You can bring down your elbows and put a little more pressure in your armpits. right hand over the left on your heart. Relax the breath and continue meditating in this sound. Befriend your heart. Befriend your feeling. Befriend what you feel, what you have felt in the past. Befriend the good feelings and the challenging feelings. They are all part of you. Greet them, welcome them into your life. See them eye to eye in the depth of yourself. And see that each one has fulfilled a role, a purpose. It has come to serve you in your path towards destiny. Honor each feeling, the good ones, the bad ones. For they have guided you to here, to this space, to this time, to this awareness that you have today. It is okay to feel the pain, as it is okay to feel the joy. But it is the feeling of you within you, of you feeling yourself, of you seeing yourself. That lets all these emotions and all these feelings just serve you instead of rule you. They are your servants, not your rulers. You must listen. You must feel them. And then you must act from your royalty and your purity, from your consciousness and your courage. But all the good and the bad are your allies in this battle. Befriend your emotions. Feel gratitude. Feel connection. Take them out. Honor them. Put them on the stage and honor them. Let's begin to chant. We're still going to deal a little more. We're going to go in deeper. But before that, let's do a self-exploratory exploration of where one can find these unidentified flying emotions, right? Because sometimes we're not even aware we have them. Or we're not entirely aware. We're kind of a little bit aware. So I'm going to ask you to do a little reflection. And I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can write down what this brings into your consciousness, so that you can start to create a map of where these emotions are. You know, the way that we tell the story of our lives, and this really many times is the way that we tell the story of our emotions. This is something we cover in one of the level 2, I think, in lifestyles and life cycles, of how important it is the way that we're telling our story. So I'm going to ask you to identify some key parts of your story to kind of, tickle your subconscious mind into figuring out where is it that you can find some of these blocks and some of these, how do you sing this around? That's an internal joke we had in sadhana. Some of these very precise situations in which we can that are blocking us. So first, I want you to think about what part of the story of your life do you like to justify? Let me give you an example, just to give you an example. Oh, I am not successful because the government created the system to destroy my business. So I'm not able to be successful anymore. Or I'm not successful because my wife didn't want me to start this business or to do this career. So we all have some area where we are justifying to ourselves why we are not what we really want to be. So think about that for a few minutes. Write a little bit. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 minutes to explore that. Make a list of the people that have not let you be who you need to be, that have blocked your growth, that you feel that they've been put there to block you from getting what you need to do, where you need to go. Yeah, your whole life. Well, whoever comes to your awareness right now. one more minute. Now I want to ask you to make a list of the things you've ran away from. And I'm not saying, bad things you should have run away from, but things that you probably should run towards that you did not go to because you had some motivation not to go there. Where are some of those places where you as a man would have wanted to be, go, do, that you haven't done because many reasons? You have blocks, you haven't had time, you have a fear. And for the last thing I want to ask you is to kind of look at the whole exercise and see what kind of story is the normal story that you're telling yourself. For instance, I can be telling myself a story of being a victim of some circumstance, of certain people. And that prevents me from actually doing what I need to do because I have this, this story that tells me I'm not able to, I've been prevented from, and I justify it this way and that way. Yeah, and obviously it should be linked somehow to what you wrote. Naturally linked. It should be naturally linked to what you wrote. Okay, you're almost done? Okay. All right. Well, now we're going to do something to change the story. So please come sitting in a meditative posture. So remember that yesterday we were working with the Jupiter. We're talking about wisdom, and we need to get wisdom from our body, wisdom from everybody else, wisdom from the universe. So what we're going to do in this exercise is that we're going to do this movement. Really fast, very precise. Close your eyes just 1/10 open and continue. Fast. It has to move so fast that your body is shaking. In this first stage, you will get angry. So, get angry. Bawl somebody out. Guilt trip somebody. Get very angry. Project it. Get angry from the stem of your brain, which means really deep there, very instinctual. You're just angry, pissed off. Evoke it. Get seriously angry. Get it out. Get angry with God. Hey, big one, this is for you. Hit the highest of the high. Come on. Get to Him. Get to God and get angry with Him. Close your eyes and think that God is there. Imagine that you are a light that is bigger than God. And tell Him with your index finger, the finger of Jupiter, what the hell is He? And that you do not care. Come on. Tell that to God Himself. Do it consciously. Come on. This is for your subconscious. Personify the whole universe, the whole God, and just say, what the hell are you doing, man? Don't get angry with little people, with your, somebody in the street, with your wife, with your kids, with your friends. Don't get angry with people like that. Everybody has a boss. Get angry with the boss. He's the big man out there. Pretend you're not afraid at him and bawl him out. If God kills you, you're still within God. So, keep it up. Get mad, get angry, get it out, get it out. This is time to get out all this mental garbage, all these fossilized emotions. Visualize them. Get the anger out. If you do it fast, it's going to work better. If you do it slow, it's not going to work. God is your Father. Get mad with your Father. Tell Him everything you didn't want, you never told Him before. Pretend to be very, very mad, very pissed off. Now begin telling him, why did you do this to me? Why did you put this person in my life? Why did I get into the situation where I screwed everything up? It is your fault, God. Come on, bawl him out. Be a nagging person with God at this point. Today is the day, through all incarnations, all samskaras, through all karmas, to get friendly and confront God. Come on. You've been living for so long, carrying all this garbage. Get it out. Get even with him today. Tell him, who the hell are you? Remember everything God did to you, and get even right now. Insult him. Do whatever you need to do. Let him know. He doesn't mind. He will hear. Whatever has hurt you, give it back to him. Come on. Say thank you for your gift, but no thanks anymore. Why did you give me this life, God, if you just screwed it up like this? Come on. Ask him why he did everything you don't like in your life. Why he gave you everything you don't like about yourself. Why did you have to get sick? Keep moving. Heavy, profound, strong. Act as if you're really doing it. No excuses. Start feeling weight in your fingers. Keep it up. Let your nervous system freak out. Let your limbic system do whatever it needs to do. You've carried this for so many years. Now is the time to tell God a portion of your truth, the whole of your truth, the whole of your anger, the whole of your sense of betrayal and abandonment, the whole sense of, failure. Give it back. It is all his fault. All the anger, all the shame, all the corruption, all the lack of understanding, all the confusion. It's his fault. All the injustice, all the hate, all the idiots that surround you, whatever you want. This is the moment to tell God that he screwed up. Come on, come on. Come on, a couple more minutes. Do it. Give it to him. Unload it. Unzip it from its zip file and give it the whole thing. Come on. Don't leave anything behind. Give it away. Come on, last minute. "45 seconds. Inhale, inhale. And exhale. Now begin punching. Punch, 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 punch. God is near you now. Punch him. Tell him, don't call me names. Don't belittle me. Don't make me small. Come on. Get going until you're just exhausted from doing this. Punch him for all the injustice, for all the stupid things he did to you. For all the bad memories, for all the bad experiences, for all the bad businesses, for all the bad relationships. Come on, last punches. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Put your right hand over the left, over the heart. And now you're going to inhale like doing a face of surprise like this. And then you're going to exhale. You're inhaling, exhaling through the nose. Make a big face of surprise and then cringe the nose and the face. Eat him up. Swallow him. Swallow it. Become you. We're almost there. Less than a minute. Inhale deeply. Let go of the breath. Stay in the same position and meditate very deeply, very still. Feel the lotus flower open at the heart center. Concentrate and figure out what is the color of your flower. It will have a color. It is the color of your personality. Everyone will have a different color. Sit in easy pose with the spine straight. This is very important to stay in that position, to let everything be processed. This color cannot be dictated. It is your personal color. It is your gemstone. That is you. In your heart, imagine hypnotically, through the thought form or through meditation, a flower, a bud, opening up into a blossom. And it has a color. Which color is it? See it. It can be any color, but only one color. Concentrate. Don't worry about failure. The number of times we have failed in life doesn't matter. The important thing is just to succeed once. Just to get to it. Concentrate. If you have any technique to do that, do it now. Close your eyes, concentrate your energy. Close your eyes, concentrate your energy. Concentrate, concentrate while you relax at the same time. Relax, relax, relax. Open the lotus of your heart. Open the lotus of your heart. Open the lotus of your heart. Your sensitivity. All your tragedies will go away just by opening the lotus of your heart. All your problems will disappear. And only what is best in you will keep there and stay there. All the best in the universe and the Mother Earth will come and serve you. Opportunities will come to you if you just open your heart. Open the lotus of your heart. Concentrate on this color. Everybody can do it because everybody's a heart. Just Just a little bit. Feel it. Think about it. Imagine it. Meditate on it. Open the lotus of your heart. Just concentrate a little bit, feel it, think about it. Open the lotus of your heart. The bud will start opening. And your state, your attitude, your mind, your luck will start changing right under your two hands. The miracle right under your two hands. Give yourself a chance. One chance. One chance. Open up the lotus of your heart. Today, every one of you, every man here will sing and pray. And in that prayer, just open the lotus of your heart. See its color for yourself. Concentrate. It is there. Don't ignore it. Observe it. See it subconsciously. Go into your heart center and use your subconscious. Open the lotus of your heart. Concentrate. I pray for you. You pray for me. We all pray for all. All pray for us. But it's all a matter of the heart. Open it. Open the lotus of your heart. If you have never ever meditated, still do it. There's no chance of failure. Concentrate and it will happen. Try it. Open the lotus of your heart. Forget everything. Relax from everything. You have to live. You need the friendship, the strength, the fragrance, the heart, as a man, as a human being. Any flower that does not bud and blossom has no fragrance. That is the rule of nature. Open it up. Open the lotus of your heart. You have to unload so much subconscious fear. Now you have to give it a beauty, a joy, an everlasting happiness. Create it. Go through it. Give yourself a chance. Don't let your mind play games with you. Don't let it divert you. The subconscious mind is under attack. We want to clean all the garbage. But if you start playing all the tricks, it will take the body into a different direction. It will hurt. It will make you nervous. It will do anything. Don't be part of that. Just open the lotus of your heart. Under your hands, feel the burst of the sun. Vast blue shining skies and a huge burst of sun. The light, the warmth. Like fragrance from the floor, we are now going to fly away in waves. In waves will give you the supporting strength of the wave. 1 1/4 circles into 7 in the rhythm will give you the wavelength, and the fragrance of the flower moves on that wavelength. Please start flowing into that fragrance. Like little ghosts full of fragrance and light, transparent. Fly there in wavelengths. Touch the frontiers that you can't even imagine. Go as far as you can, space to space, galaxy to galaxy, millennium to millennium, beyond and beyond to yonder land. Come, my loves, to infinity. Become the fragrance of the flower. Smell your flower, your fragrance. Smell it. It's your reality. seating in your heart, pulsating in your heart. Vibrate in this. Put your left hand over your heart and your right hand bring it to the forward. Now chant this.
Sa
Inhale, deeply inhale. Feel the openness of your heart. Feel this new connection with yourself. Feel this new sensitivity. Relax the breath. Relax the posture. Now you guys deserve a hand. Awesome job. You did wonderful. Does everybody feel good now? Good. Now this Kriya that we did, it is really a Kriya to change the story that your subconscious is telling you. So there's going to be a little homework, because you've kind of wrote down part of those areas where you need to retell your story. So from here to tomorrow, just kind of ponder on those things, during the day and during sadhana tomorrow. I invite you to think about how you were telling your story and how you can change that story now that we went through this process. And how can that story now, instead of bog you down and let you be in the mud all day, how can that story be transformed into a story of victory, of triumph, of really reaching liberation? So that's the little homework that I suggest that the little work, internal work that you do. And tomorrow we're going to begin by sharing that amongst ourselves, what we figured out, what we felt. Meantime, be aware of all these sensitivities. I know that we all have areas where we don't feel that we even feel. But I invite you to go into those areas and start building the connection so that you can start feeling. And there's many ways that you can do that. The world normally is pretty good at telling you where you're not feeling or where you're not connecting, especially your wife, right? Has a woman ever told you, "You're not hearing me"? So when a woman tells you, "You're not hearing me," you can tell her, "Yes, I am," but then go back into your room and say, "Why am I not hearing her?" If you don't admit it to her. But really go into deeply, why am I not hearing? Why am I not connecting? What is she telling me that I'm not being able to connect? You see, women are 16 times more powerful than us because they have 16 times more awareness and connection to their own sensitivity and their own emotions than we do. So they know the language of emotions and feelings a lot better than men do. Even though we have the same emotions and the same feelings, but we don't care to name them and we don't want to waste time with them, right? We like to bury them because we need to bring the bread home, like we were talking yesterday. But I hope that in these 2 days, we've convinced you that it's okay to feel. It's okay to have sensitivity. And as a matter of fact, it is the way of a conscious man. And as a matter of fact, it is the way towards courage. It is the way to success. It is the way to fulfilling your most inner masculine desires. So happy travels. And you have any questions? Yes. Well, Yogi Bhajan said that. Women were 16 times more powerful than women, than men. Very specific, yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Like the physical pain of your body? Well, sometimes you pull out for a minute and adjust and get, take care of the pain. And sometimes you just stay with it present. Both things are part of the process. And the idea many times when we're doing Kundalini Yoga, in my experience, is that we're doing something that is sometimes painful, but pain is part of the experience itself. Part of the practice of Kundalini Yoga is not being afraid of pain. But at the same time, it is very important to make sure that you're not having pain because you have, a dislocated shoulder or some real actual physical limitation that is going to take you to the hospital, obviously. So you have to be aware of your body. There's pain that helps you grow, and in Kundalini Yoga, most of the time we put our hands here and it is painful, but it's not going to create any harm. So it's a whole experiment on how to deal with pain and how transitory it is too, and being present with it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the key to being a whole, full human being is being able to open the heart. Because all the reasons that I've talked. So it's when he's saying, open the lotus of your heart, it is really get into touch with those qualities of the heart that begin with emotions, but that eventually get transmuted into compassion, into empathy, into love, into those higher forms of emotion that really motivate us and really give us strength. So success without an open heart is, no success. I mean, who wants to live in a mansion with all the money of the world and not feeling loved and appreciated by someone else? You know? So it is all connected. Love gives us the strength to go through love and through life. Love is the experience of infinity within the finite. And when we are creating this new space of infinity within our lives, we need love. Love is what opens it up. Not the mind, but love. Satnam. Satnam.